Dot, a deaf and mute high schooler, lives a life of isolation. Her inability to hear or speak keeps her from forming friendships, and she spends most of her school days alone. After the death of her single father, she moves in with her godmother's family. Unfortunately, her godsister Nina isn't happy about it and holds an unfounded grudge against her. Both attend the same school, but their social lives are complete opposites. Dot is ignored and avoided, while Nina is a popular cheerleader. In the opening scene, Nina and her cheerleader clique mock Dot's disability. A concerned guidance counselor sees this and kindly invites Dot to sit with her for lunch, but Dot refuses. She runs off to the only place she feels safe, a bathroom stall, where loneliness at least feels familiar. That moment of peace ends quickly when Nina storms in and drags her out to go home. At home, Nina's mother Olivia encourages her daughter to make Dot feel included, but Nina has no interest. Since she didn't choose to have Dot in her life, she refuses to take responsibility for her. Later that evening, Olivia is found passed out drunk in the living room. She struggles with alcoholism and depression and takes multiple antidepressants. Her husband, Paul, quietly helps her to bed and returns to find an awkward silence between the girls at dinner. Hoping to lighten the mood, he suggests that the family learn sign language to communicate with Dot. But before he finishes, Nina dismisses him and walks off coldly. The next day at lunch, Nina and her friends chat about typical teenage drama. Michelle teases Nina about still being a virgin, despite having plenty of guys interested in her. Nina could date anyone she wants, but she stays distant from relationships. Meanwhile, Dot discovers the school's empty music room. Though she can no longer hear, she plays the piano with surprising skill, something she practiced back when she still had her hearing. Connor, a well-known guy at school, hears the music and is stunned. He quietly watches Dot play, clearly intrigued, until a friend pulls him away. Later, Dot runs into Nina in the school bathroom. Trying to stay out of trouble, Dot keeps to herself, but Nina insists on putting lipstick on her. Dot briefly thinks this could be a kind gesture, until she looks in the mirror and sees the lipstick smeared all over her mouth. That night, missing her father, Dot struggles to sleep and goes for some air. As she passes by Nina's room, she notices the door open and peeks in, only to see Nina and her father Paul lying in bed together. Horrified, she rushes back to her room. The next night at dinner, Nina casually asks her parents if she can sleep over at Michelle's. Paul refuses to let Nina spend the night at Michelle's, but Olivia supports the idea. As tension rises at the dinner table, Nina subtly runs her foot up Paul's leg in an unsettling attempt to seduce him into changing his mind. Paul doesn't verbally respond, but his silence is taken as permission. After she leaves, Paul scolds Olivia for always going against him, leading to a brief argument before he walks away in frustration. Left alone, Olivia receives a note from Dot, asking if she can go to the movies. Paul volunteers to drive her. Dot agrees, although she feels uneasy around him. At the cinema, the place is nearly empty, except for Nina and her cheerleader friends sitting in the middle row. Connor notices Dot sitting alone and is tempted to go talk to her, but his friends discourage him. Nina, for once, feels a flicker of guilt, but maintains her usual indifferent attitude. Dot watches as Nina briefly closes her ears, trying to understand what it's like to be deaf. However, once she catches Dot's eyes, she quickly drops the act and looks away. That night, Dot can't sleep. Her mind races with thoughts of Nina. Suddenly, she sees Paul come downstairs. She pretends to be asleep, but he strokes her hair and whispers that he's sick. It becomes disturbingly clear he's aware that his relationship with Nina is twisted, but he's gone too far to stop. He originally thought Dot's presence would prevent him from visiting Nina's room, but it didn't work. In the next scene, Dot is home alone playing the piano. She doesn't realize that Nina has just returned from school and is quietly watching her from the doorway. When a piano string snaps, Dot lets out a curse, aloud. Nina freezes, shocked to hear Dot speak. It hits her that Dot may not be deaf after all. Still, she pretends not to notice and doesn't confront her. The next day during lunch, Nina does something unexpected. She sits next to Dot. Caught off guard, Dot looks at her, puzzled. Nina then begins to describe in detail what goes on between her and Paul. It's clear she's trying to provoke a reaction, but Dot remains silent and composed. Before leaving, Nina claims she plans to use Michelle's gun to kill Paul that night. Dot doesn't respond, but is visibly shaken, fearing Nina might be serious. Trying to clear her mind, Dot returns to the music room. This time, as she plays, she sees Connor watching her through the door. Embarrassed, she starts to leave, but he stops her. Connor nervously asks her out on a study date to work on their lab assignment. His plan falls apart when Dot hands him the already finished report. That night, during dinner, Connor unexpectedly shows up at the door and invites Dot to the library to discuss the project. She agrees, just as Michelle drops off a bag with Nina. Dot is reminded of the gun and begins to worry. Later, at a diner, Connor briefly brings up the report, but quickly shifts gears and confesses his feelings for her. Believing Dot can't hear him, Paul confesses his disturbing fantasies aloud, unaware she understands every word. Suddenly, Dot sees an ambulance approaching their home and panics, assuming Nina has gone through with her plan. She rushes back, relieved to find everyone unharmed. As calm returns, she walks past Nina's room and hears Paul undressing her. Nina's voice makes it clear. She's emotionally drained by her father's actions. To stop whatever is about to happen, Dot deliberately breaks a statue. The crash breaks the tension, prompting Paul to return to his own room. Nina, left alone and broken, begins to cry. Dot quietly slips into bed beside her and comforts her as she drifts off to sleep. The next day, while ironing her cheer uniform, Nina casually tells Dot she's planning to kill Paul that night with the iron. To make her point, she burns the face off a teddy bear. Dot stays silent, still pretending she's deaf, unsure if Nina actually knows the truth. Later, at the school basketball game, Nina and Michelle lead the cheer squad. Connor plays, but he's so bad the coach benches him almost immediately. After the game, Connor and Dot hang out by the pool. Thinking she can't hear, he starts venting about his sexual frustrations. Unexpectedly, Dot removes her top, and they end up making love by the water. Back home, Olivia comments that Nina and Connor would make a cute couple. The remark enrages Paul, who accuses Olivia of making Nina dress provocatively. The argument turns strange when Olivia begins to undress and tries to seduce Paul, but he's no longer interested in her. Later that night, Nina returns home exhausted from cheering all day. Paul gives her a handbag and starts making advances again. Olivia, clearly awake in her bedroom, hears everything but chooses not to intervene. Nina then tells Paul she has a surprise for him and asks him to close his eyes. As he obeys, she silently approaches with the hot iron, ready to end it. Just before she strikes, Dot walks in, stopping her. Nina quickly changes course and blurts out that she's pregnant. Paul is stunned, horrified at the idea that he might have impregnated his own daughter. When Nina asks for $1,000 for an abortion, he agrees to give it to her the next day. That night, Nina visits Dot and admits she couldn't go through with killing him. The next day is the school dance. Nina lends Dot a dress and helps her get ready. While doing her makeup, she finally admits the pregnancy was a lie. She plans to take the money and run away to another state, hoping to make money working as a stripper. For once, she applies Dot's lipstick gently, without making her look ridiculous. Later, Paul searches through Nina's bag and finds tampons. Knowing she claimed not to have had her period in weeks, he realizes she's lying. When he confronts her, Nina scrambles to make up another story, but this time, he doesn't believe her. Paul begins to slap Nina and force himself on her. Olivia hears her daughter's cries of pain, but stays frozen, doing nothing. Dot hears the screaming too. She stops playing the piano, yanks out a wire, and walks straight into the bedroom. Catching Paul mid-assault, she wraps the wire around his neck and strangles him, yelling at him to leave Nina alone. Seconds later, he drops dead. Nina, shaken and overwhelmed, stares at his body and lashes out at Dot for killing her daddy. Olivia enters, stunned, not by the corpse, but by the fact that Dot can speak. Just then, Michelle rings the doorbell, ready to pick them up for the school dance. The girls scramble to change, stuffing their bloodied clothes into a bag to hide the evidence. Wanting everything to appear normal, they leave for school as if nothing happened. At the dance, Dot tries to enjoy herself with Connor, but is clearly distracted. Unable to stay in the moment, she slips away with the bag and hides in a bathroom stall, waiting for the night to end. Meanwhile, back at home, Olivia sits beside Paul's corpse, emotionless. She's not shocked. Her love for him died long ago. Her only real regret is not having the courage to protect Nina sooner. Elsewhere, Connor calls out to Dot as she's leaving the party and is stunned when she turns around. In that moment, he realizes the truth. She's not deaf. It hits him that she heard everything he's ever said, including his deepest, dirtiest secrets. Furious, he calls her a psycho and accuses her of betrayal. Dot tries to explain, but he shoves her away and leaves. Accepting that she can't fix it right now, she puts her energy into something more urgent, helping Nina. She finds Nina and takes her to a nearby creek. Together, they bury the backpack containing the blood-stained clothes. As they cover the dirt, Nina asks Dot why she pretended to be deaf for so long. Dot quietly replies that she wanted to be like her father, who was both deaf and mute. The girls rush back home, only to find flashing lights and police cars waiting for them. Olivia is being led out in handcuffs. Shocked, they ask what happened. Olivia calmly says she killed Paul. Then, she looks at Nina and offers a quiet apology. While the officers assume she's sorry for the murder, Nina understands the truth. Her mother is apologizing for never protecting her. In the final scene, the girls silently watch as the police car drives away with Olivia inside, leaving behind a house full of secrets, grief, and finally, justice.